Man believes he sees, he separates, he judges, and calls it clarity. But seeing is not the same as truly perceiving. There is a way of seeing that separates, and a way of seeing that reveals. In the Gospel of Thomas, there is a saying that quietly rests upon this distinction. It does not speak about morality, not about correct behavior, but about the mystery of inner sight. You see the splinter in your brother's eye, but you do not see the beam in your own eye. When you remove the beam from your own eye, then you will see clearly to remove the splinter from your brother's eye. At first, the saying appears simple, almost ordinary, and yet it is dangerous to every false certainty, because it does not question the other person. It questions seeing itself. It suggests that a human being can remain blind while believing he understands. That truth is not missed where we see nothing, but where we are too certain of what we see. This saying is not advice. It is a mirror. And anyone who takes it seriously soon begins to realize this is not a conversation about mistakes. This is the beginning of a path of inner purification of sight. In the saying, it is the eye that is spoken of, not thought, not action, because this is not about perception alone, but about understanding, about the place where reality begins to take shape. A human being does not merely see what lies before him. He sees from within, from a condition, from an inner order that usually remains hidden. That is why the eye becomes a gate, not to the world, but to truth. And whatever passes through this gate is not received neutrally. It is arranged, interpreted, shaped. An unclear eye may see many things, but it understands very little. Evagrius Ponticus, one of the early Christian mystics, describes this movement of the mind with quiet precision. When the intellect gradually withdraws from sense, memory, and bodily desire, and becomes filled with reverence and joy, then it has drawn near to the borders of prayer. Understanding here is not control, not judgment, not possession. It is the consequence of a condition. That is why the teaching does not begin with the other person, and not with the world, but with the eye itself. For whoever does not know the gate through which he sees cannot truly know what he is seeing. Man believes his vision is clear because he can recognize differences, because he can name what appears right and what does not. This certainty feels convincing. It gives stability. It brings order to the world. The splinter here stands for something real, a weakness, a distortion, a genuine flaw in another person, something visible, not imagined, not invented. That is precisely why this kind of seeing feels so certain. The eye recognizes something real, something that can be named, something that can be grasped. And yet, this is exactly where the illusion begins. Because the gaze does not examine itself. It moves outward. It sees the splinter in the eye of another, clearly, sharply, seemingly beyond question. What is seen is not false. The splinter is real. And yet a deception arises here. Man believes that because he recognizes something, his seeing itself must already be true. But understanding does not begin with what is seen. It begins with the condition of the one who sees. As long as this condition remains unclear, all understanding remains fragmented. It stays at the surface. It sees effects, but not the origin. That is why outward perception is so seductive. It works. It confirms itself. And precisely because of that, it closes the way inward. Origen, one of the early interpreters of the words of Jesus, pointed to this condition with remarkable sharpness. Whoever judges others often reveals only that he has not yet recognized himself. The gaze feels clear, yet it circles endlessly around the outer world. It remains certain, and therefore unmoved. In this way, seeing itself becomes the obstacle, not because it is false, but because it stops too soon. In the saying, there is mention of a beam in one's own eye, a striking image, and precisely because of its clarity, it points towards something that escapes the gaze itself. For this beam is not small, not hidden, not subtle, and yet it remains unnoticed, not because it is invisible, but because it is too close. It is not an object within the field of vision. It is the condition from which vision itself arises. The beam stands for the unclarified self, for the ego that is unaware of its own inner order, for certainties that were never questioned, opinions, self-images, inherited standards, fears disguised as clarity. None of these things stand before the gaze. They carry it. That is why the beam is harder to recognize than any splinter in another person. The splinter lies outside. The beam remains within, shaping every perception. And so spiritual blindness appears without darkness. A person may see many things. He may recognize patterns and connections, and still remain separated from the source itself. The saying does not place a moral burden here. It names a condition, an inner disorder that cannot be resolved through more knowledge, but only through inner clarification. As long as this beam remains, every act of seeing becomes distorted. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but inevitably, because the unclarified self cannot carry truth. To remove the beam from one's own eye does not mean becoming morally superior, nor does it mean condemning oneself. It means no longer overlooking what is within. The gaze begins to withdraw from its certainties, from its explanations, from the constant need to be right. What happens here is not an act of force, but an act of release. The unclarified self slowly loses its center, not through struggle, but through insight. The Gospel of Thomas echoes this in another saying, "Whoever knows everything but fails to know himself lacks everything." Not every judgment disappears, but its origin changes. The gaze becomes quieter, more transparent, less filled with itself. And so the beam does not fall because one violently removes it, but because it no longer holds power. And only here does a form of seeing emerge that no longer comes from distortion. Only now does the other person truly become visible, not as a case, not as a problem, not as a task to solve, but as another human being. The splinter in the brother's eye does not disappear, but it no longer dominates the gaze. It no longer stands at the center, because the gaze now comes from a different source, not from self-certainty, not from superiority, but from clarified nearness. Help no longer arises from compulsion, not from the need to correct, but from perception. The other person is no longer reduced to his splinter, and the gaze no longer loses itself in the act of helping. What happens here is not an intervention from above, but a presence on equal ground. That is why this kind of help is quiet. And precisely because of that, it carries weight. It does not take life away from the other person. It does not force itself upon him. It sees and allows, and so the saying is fulfilled. The splinter is not removed first. The distortion of vision is. And only then does a form of relationship become possible that no longer wounds. The saying does not end with a rule, nor with a demand. It ends with a transformation of sight. Not the other person stands at the center, not the flaw, not the judgment, but the eye itself. A gaze that has come to know itself begins to see differently. It sees less and understands more. It does not immediately grasp. It does not rush to judge. It remains open. And so truth is not forced into appearance. It reveals itself, not to the one who believes he sees everything, but to the one whose sight has been purified.